Hello, and welcome to Steffoodle. I am, eerily, Steph. Spooky season is upon us, and what better way to kick it off than a collab? This time, the theme was XL Demons. XL meaning extra large because we're using the 17-inch frightfully tall Monster High and Ever After High dolls. This is the biggest doll I've ever customized, and I cannot wait for you to see her. So let's get started. I decided to use Claudine for this project since I think it would be really cute to use her existing ears and just reposition them. I begin with cutting off all of her hair. Then, I heated the head up with my hairdryer to soften the vinyl so I could remove the head, despite knowing that most people have a lot of trouble taking the head off and putting the head back on these dolls. Guess I wanted to learn the hard way! I removed as much of the rest of the hair that I could, but it was extremely difficult. So I went ahead and cut off the ears and later cut out a head cap for better access, using my hairdryer to soften the vinyl to make it easier to cut. I used my needle nose pliers and removed as much of the remaining hair as I possibly could. I removed the factory paint using acetone, and then I wiped the face with isopropyl alcohol to remove any acetone residue. And then, I began the arduous task of putting the head back on. It took at least 20 minutes and nearly did my head in, but I finally got it back on. And I can honestly say I'm never removing one of the heads from these big dolls ever again. I glued the head cap back on with super glue along with the ears in their new positions at the sides of her head. I mixed up equal parts A and B of my epoxy sculpt and filled in the gaps between the ears and the head. While that cures, let's work on her clothing. I wanted to go with more of a street fashion style, and I ended up being inspired by y2k grunge, which is pretty nostalgic for me. I knew immediately that she needed some wide leg cargo pants, so I modded a Requiem Art Designs pattern, which I will link in the video description below. And these are all the pattern pieces that I've tweaked to suit my design. First thing to do is hem the front pockets. I use a glue stick first, then sewed. I want to add a lot of contrast stitching to these pants. Then I add the pockets themselves, which I made rectangular to match the style I wanted. Next, I sewed both the front pieces together at the crotch seam, right sides facing. To prepare the back pockets, I mark out the seam allowance, clip the corners, and glue down all the hems. I add a line of stitching to the top edge of the pockets. Then I attach them to the back pieces, sewing around the remaining 3 sides. Now I can attach the back pieces to the front and top stitch the side seams. I also added a line of stitching to act as a faux button flap, which I forgot to do previously. Now onto the cargo pockets. I hem the pockets and the pocket flaps with a glue stick, the same way I did for the back pockets. And for the pocket portion, I sewed them exactly the same way I sewed the back pockets, using a ruler to make sure they were at the same height on both legs. For the flaps, I sewed around 3 of the sides and attached the remaining side to the pant leg just above the pocket. Time to add the waistband and the belt loops. I've already gone ahead and hemmed the belt loops. I tried gluing them at first, but it was too stiff, so I ended up cutting new ones and sewing the hems instead. I line up the belt loops where I want them, sandwiching them in between the pants and the waistband, and sew across. I add a line of stitching to emphasize the faux button flap. Then I fold over the waistband towards the inside of the pants and sew it in place. Now I can finish the belt loops, sewing them onto the top of the waistband. I hem the legs, then sew up the back seam partway, leaving room for a closure. I flip the pants around, matching the leg seams right sides together, and sew. I turn the pants right side out and try them on the doll to see where I need to add my snap closure. I stole a metal stud from this trim and glued it onto the waistband to act as a faux button. I decided to add some chains as a final touch, and the cargo pants are done! For her shoes, I'll be modding these Gouliapi boots. I carefully whittle off some of the sculpted details and fill out the soles with super light air dry clay. After a couple of passes, waiting overnight for the clay to dry each time, I lightly sand the soles to even out the surface before priming the boots with grey gesso. Then I painted them black, and later sealed them in with matte Mod Podge. I didn't really like how the top of the boots looked, so I ended up covering the uppers with some faux leather. I added some black and gold studded trim. Then I decided I wanted to gloss the toe box of the boots before adding more of the same trim. And finally, I painted over the soles with black 3.0 to make them super matte. So we have the cargo pants. I made the simple black tube top off camera, as well as this crocheted shrug. I was originally going to knit it, but after a few swatches I realized that crochet would drape better on the doll, so that's what I went with. I also made her this simple necklace. And then we have the boots, which look great. And that is her outfit done. Getting back to the doll herself, I color matched the epoxy to her skin tone as best I could. It's not amazing, but it'll do. After that, I gave her 2 sprays of Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Flat, waiting 30 minutes in between each layer, and got to work on the Faceup. I sketch out her eye shape and eyeliner using a watercolor pencil that's a little darker than her skin tone. Since her face is so big, I ended up using a strip of washi tape to make sure her eyeliner was in the same place on both sides. I used chalk pastels to help blend in the ears, as well as adding blushing and shading to her face. I fill in the sclera with an ivory pencil. I continue working layer by layer, building up color and adding detail, spraying another coat of MSC every time I can't build any more color or I want to save my progress. I ended up having a lot of fun with her makeup, actually. I've been watching a lot of Naomi John videos recently, so you may be able to see some of her influence in there a little bit. I decided to add a silver highlight around her slit pupils to really make them stand out. Since her eyes are so large, I decided to try adding shading to them with black Panpastel, and I didn't realize that the brush I used to clear away dust ended up resting in the black acrylic paint I had out. Thankfully, I thought fast and was able to get it all off, although I did have to repair the face up on that side a bit, but it turned out fine. I nearly had a heart attack though. That was fun. I decided to just give her a couple of very small catch lights with my white Posca pen. Usually I'd want to go overboard, especially on eyes this big, but I decided simpler was better for once. And after adding a bit of sparkle, the face up is done. I'll be using Cos clay to make her horns, mainly because it stays flexible after baking, and goodness knows I'll probably drop her at least once or twice, so I may as well make her horns out of something that won't break. I was surprised to see the clay wasn't wrapped in plastic. I was worried it was going to be dried out, but after kneading and conditioning it, it was actually really pleasant to work with. I sculpted the horns around magnets and then removed the magnets before baking, leaving an indentation for them later. I wanted to make one of her horns broken, so I used my craft knife to cut it to size and add texture. After baking and letting them cool, I attached the magnets with super glue. I painted them black and painted the inner part of the broken horn in shades of grey, but I forgot to film that part. Whoops! Then I sealed them with matte Mod Podge. To close up the holes in her head where her ears used to be, I used Warbler thermoplastic. I cut a couple of pieces down to size, heated them up with my hairdryer, and pressed them onto the head, covering the holes. Easy peasy. I glued on magnets where her horns will attach and glossed her lips. I painted her scalp black, and I made yarn wefts off camera. She'll be getting two-toned gray and black hair. I start with the gray wefts, gluing them first at the nape of the neck, and then working up and around. Now the gray is done. Time to add the black wefts. Once I get to the part, I glue wefts going in the opposite direction. Once dry, I can fold it over and then do the same on the other side. I gave her hair a good comb through, wrapped her head in plastic wrap, and let her sit like that overnight to help the part lay down flat. And here's how she looks after a cut and style. I also gave her some earrings which were really fiddly to get on her, but they look so cute. And I couldn't resist giving her butterfly clips. I used to wear like a dozen or so in my hair back in the day. Now all that's left is to get her dressed, and she's done! Mona is the only name I could think of, so Mona she shall be. I'm still in awe of just how big she is. It made her a bit difficult to photograph, to be honest. I'm hoping one day I can have a proper backdrop set up, but for now it's a precarious combination of foam boards, something to lean them against, and a roll of paper on my dining room table. I am over the moon with how Mona turned out, and making clothing in a larger scale was so much fun, which is why I actually included some of it in the video for once. If you enjoy that, please let me know and I'll try to include more clothing construction in future videos. What do you think of Mona? And how do you feel about Y2K fashion being back in style? I've got mixed feelings, honestly, but I'm kind of enjoying seeing how it's being reinterpreted through a Gen Z lens. After you're done with this video, don't forget to check out the other devilishly awesome videos from BlurredColors Art, Lady Dynamite Creates, Krystals Fantasy, Josephine's Creatures, Claudoll, K's OOAK Factory, JackyOhhh, The Hatter Dolls, DiamondzaCraft, and Harley's Dollhouse. This collab was a lot of fun, and I know I say every collab is a lot of fun, but it's true. It's fun working with people, and everyone made such beautiful and unique dolls, so go check them out. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and click the bell icon to get notified every time I post a new video. Links to all my social media will be down in the description below. I am most active on Instagram, mainly stories. And if you really like what I do and you want to buy me a coffee, a link to my Ko-fi tip jar is down there too. And until next time, which will be the spookiest time of the year, bye!